Today, I'm gonna be doing a live reaction for the latest Bay Area housing market stats in the city of Walnut Creek, California, coming up on this Bay Area Housing Market Minute. The Bay Area has been on fire. Real estate here has never been hotter. And what I'm going to be doing today, everyone, is just going over the latest stats here in Walnut Creek, doing a live time reaction video for all of you. But before we get into that data, before we get into the numbers, if you're a home buyer in today's marketplace and you're looking for a comprehensive data set to assist you in your home buying decision making, you can go ahead and text the word data plus the area or the zip code or the neighborhood that you're looking in, and we will get that data set sent straight to your inbox. And if you're a home seller in today's marketplace and you're wondering, is now the right time to sell? Or what should I price my property at? You can go ahead and text the word data plus your property address, and we'll send that information straight to your inbox. All right, let's dive into the numbers. Again, this is the first time I'm seeing this trend graphics report, so this is all new information to me. This is for all residential properties in the city of Walnut Creek for August of this year, 2021. Okay, so my initial knee-jerk reaction just right off the bat, stability is what I'm seeing. For the first time in a while, we're starting to see stability in the Walnut Creek area. Earlier this year, we had that huge surge, that huge spike in pending sales where we went from, which is represented by the red line. So we went from 80 some odd pending sales up to 162, nearly a doubling in 1 month. I mean, that's carnage. I mean, for anybody that's a buyer in the marketplace, it's brutal. So we're starting to see some stability. We're starting to see pending sales creep down just a little bit. But for the last 2 months or so June, July of this month, we're seeing stability. This is actually a little different than I was expecting. I was expecting to see a slightly bigger dip, truthfully, in pending sales, simply because in July, we usually see a fairly drastic dip in pending sales. That being for the reason being that typically in July, we see buyers head out of town. We see everyone being distracted with vacations and whatnot. And so we typically see a drop off in demand. So that should be encouraging, right, if you're a home seller. And again, inventory levels did creep up a little bit in July. So we got to keep paying attention to these numbers, because if pending sales and active inventory, represented by the light green line, continue to get closer and closer and start to intersect, then that starts to bring more and more stability to the marketplace. Now, we're still in an extremely hot seller's market. This is very obvious from what we're seeing. I mean, pending sales could literally get cut in half and we'd still be in a very strong seller's market. So nothing to worry about there from like a crash perspective or like a recession or like a dip, right? But in terms of bringing more stability, I could see that line intersecting in the next 6 months or so, which means, by the way, that for the next 6 months, I'm just like thinking out loud, for the next 6 months, homes are going to continue to appreciate in Walnut Creek. So if the question is, should I buy now or wait for 6 months? The answer is buy now, because you're going to pay more later. Now, heading over to sales price to list price. Now, one thing every buyer wants to know is how much over list price am I going to be expected to pay in order to win a house? Now, on average in Walnut Creek, we saw sales price to list price ratio of 109%, which means for a home that was listed for $1 million, we saw that same home sell for $1,090,000. So obviously that's the average. We saw a lot of homes sell for more than 109. Some properties sell for less. This is, of course, the average, but this is, wow, 14 straight months where we saw pending sales, or we saw home sell rather, for over 100% sales price to list price ratio, which means that for 14 straight months, we've seen upward growth and more buffer being put into the home values in Walnut Creek. So here's my initial take on my knee-jerk reaction is that if you bought your home in the spring of last year or even the summer of last year in Walnut Creek, your investment is 100% safe. Prices will never go back down to where they were in June of last year. There has been too much upward trajectory, too much delta, too much growth. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's just absurd. Even in the last 4 or 5 months, even if you bought your home at the beginning of this year in Walnut Creek, there's been so much buffer. I would be hard pressed to see a scenario in which we would see prices return to that. That's how much buffer has been built into the Walnut Creek housing prices. Unreal. Okay, last thing that I want to look at here is absorption rate. We're seeing 140% absorption rate in the month of July, which is following 3 straight months where the absorption rate was over 200%. I mean, what you have to understand is that in Kansas, if they're at 50 or 60%, they are stoked. And so to see 140% following 3 months of 200+% absorption rate, it's absurd. And that should also create some sense of urgency, I believe. Like if I'm a buyer right now and I'm looking at these numbers and I'm on the fence as to like what I want to do, there is no other choice. Like if you have the wherewithal to do it right now, as opposed to waiting like 6 to 12 months, there's no indication of a slowdown, and there's no indication that the market is going to correct itself anytime soon. And if it were to happen, we'd have to see this graph right here. We'd have to see the red lines and the light green line intersect, and even the red line dip way below where the light green line is. And so that's not going to happen overnight. It won't even happen in a 3-month time period. It would take 6 to 9 months for that to happen minimum. And so you have to continue to tune back into the Bay Area Housing Market Minute to see what's going on, what the latest housing market report is, not just for Walnut Creek, for every single Bay Area city. This is Danny Gould, everyone. I'm selling Silicon Valley, and I will catch all of you in the next Bay Area Housing Market Minute.